What's up, guys? Pick my shed here. Just wanted to talk a little bit about Ghostbusters Afterlife. I don't really want to go into spoilers, although it's going to be hard not to. But I'll maybe talk about spoilers, but I don't want to go too much into it. So, spoilers for this video. It's not a review; it's just impressions. I went to see the film last night. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was great. I'm such a big Ghostbusters fan, and always have been ever since I was a little kid. Ghostbusters 1 is probably my second favourite movie of all time. First being Blade Runner. Third being Empire. And I would say fourth is probably Jurassic Park, and then maybe 7. They're my top 5. Toy Story's top 10 would be Toy Story, and I like Fight Club as well. Man on Fire, that's a good one. Training Day. Shawshank Redemption. But love Ghostbusters, and we've been trying to get a Ghostbusters film for years. We've tried to get Ghostbusters 3. It kept falling through. It kept getting cancelled. We've got the Ghostbusters video game, which is amazing. We got Female Ghostbusters, which was awful. I've not even seen it. I've refused to watch it. Everyone who's watched it has told me it's terrible. So why would I watch something that I know I'm not going to like? I went to see this, and the only reason I went to see this is because I know the living Ghostbusters are in it. Now, they're not in it for long, but I think they're in it just enough, because there's little callbacks throughout the whole film of them on YouTube videos of the old Ghostbusters ad. I've even been to New York. I went to New York in 2019 with my girlfriend, and I went to the firehouse, the Ghostbusters firehouse. I went inside the Ghostbusters firehouse. I stood outside the Ghostbusters firehouse where they did the advert. Are you terrified of strange noises in the night? Do you experience feelings of dread in your basement? That sort of video. I've stood there. I've been to the public library from the first movie. I've been to the bit where the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. I've been to Statue of Liberty. So I'm just very fortunate to be able to go there and see these Ghostbusters places up close. And I love the movie. I love the franchise. I love the cartoon. I've got all 10 seasons of the real Ghostbusters on Amazon. That I'm slowly watching again. And the way that they've done this film isn't a film for. I don't think it's a film for somebody who just wants to go walk in. Oh, Ghostbusters! What's this about? I'll go in off the street and I'll watch this. It's not for that person. It's for people like me that have grown up with this, that love this franchise, that love the characters, that love the lore, that love the ghosts and the technology and the proton packs and Ecto-1. It's such a nostalgic trip. And a lot of critics are saying there's too much fan service. I don't think there's enough in there. I could have had more. I absolutely love it. I would go and see it again. I would recommend go to see it in the cinema. I think it was 75 million to make. It's currently at 145 million. It's in profit, which is great. So I'm going to slightly talk about spoilers. Well, I'm going to talk about spoilers, right? So spoilers. Harold Ramis is in the film, who's the guy who played Egon. At the start of the movie, you see him, but you don't see his face, but you sort of see his sort of silhouette of his glasses, and he's doing something, and you find out what he's been doing and why, what happened to him, and he actually gets killed at the start of the film. Then at the end of the movie, although all the way through the film, he's not dead, he's a spirit, because when he gets killed, he drops his PKE meter, and it's underneath his armchair. And he has, it's even little callbacks like the hands coming out the chair that grab him, that did with Sigourney Weaver in the first film. There's that happens to him. There's sort of all sorts of stuff like that going on. So when he dies, you see the PKE meter sort of move, and it's like, oh, that must be Egon. And then the family inherit his farmhouse, and they've sort of slowly realised what he's been doing out there and why he wasn't in touch with the family and why he sort of snubbed his daughter. And you find out that he's basically in this town because it's a town built by Ivo Shandor, who was the guy who built the skyscraper where Zool was at the top of the first movie, where the Ghostbusters sort of had a fight with Zool. So Ivor Shandor's built this town, and it's something to do with it. He was mining for metal. It was very specific stuff, this specific metal to go towards the building in New York. But he's basically built this town, and he's built another sort of temple as like a shrine to Gozer. And there's all these dates on the walls telling you that each of these dates is where these cataclysmic events, and one of them is 1994 or 1984, which is when the Ghostbusters fought Stay Puft. Then there's 2021, which is this event. So Egon's been there, basically trying to keep Gozer at bay, and he's there because he's there because he doesn't want to be. He's there because he needs to be, not because he wants to be. You find out why he shunned the other Ghostbusters. That he became obsessed with this. He wasn't bothered about receiving, be the business side of it anymore. He wasn't. The Ghostbusters say that he wasn't bothered about getting phone calls for busting ghosts because this was more important, and he saw that as small fish. And then he took all the stuff. He took the Ecto-1, he took all the proton packs, and he come to this village, this town, and he's been here ever since, fighting this, being a protector in a way. And I thought it was a great premise, like. So through the whole movie, you sort of Egon as a spirit sort of starts to guide his granddaughter and his grandson. He helps his grandson fix the Ecto-1. He helps his granddaughter fix a proton pack and shows her how to use it in a way. And it's just a really, really great to know that Harold Ramis, the Egon character, is doing all this. And then there's just this awesome bit at the end. You get Harold Ramis as a full like ghostly apparition CGI, which I wasn't expecting at all. So in the battle at the end, Egon's granddaughter, is sort of struggling to fight Gozer, and they're doing this thing where they're firing beams at each other, and she's starting to lose. And you see this ghostly hand just come up and help support the stream that she's firing and help her. And then the camera pans up and he looks at her, he smiles, and I was like, that was me done. I was just like, oh my god, I had tears in my eyes, I had a lump in my throat. I was like... And then there's a bit after that where there's a shot of them. There's a shot of all the Ghostbusters. So there's Ray stood there, side on, and there's Peter side on, then there's Winston side on, and then you see Harold Ramis' Egon side, as a ghost, and they're all there firing. And that is just such an amazing shot. And then Winston turns around and looks at Egon, and he's like, oh. Peter's like looking at him, and then they all have this moment where they look at him, and then there's bits after that where it's just like tugging on your heartstrings, where after they've beaten Gozer, they all sort of look at Egon, and Peter just turns around and says, I had a feeling you might show up. And it's just such a Peter thing to say. And then Ray says, I'm sorry I didn't believe you because about this Gozer thing in this town. Ray didn't believe him. Thought he was going crazy. And that was sort of getting me choked up as well. And then Winston says, I should have phoned you because I really miss you. And that was just such a nice thing. And then he has a moment with his granddaughter, then he has a moment with his grandson, and then he has a moment with his daughter, who finally realises that he was here. He was here in this town, protecting the world, and that's why he couldn't stay in touch with his daughter. But she later learns that he kept track of her life, and there's all this collage of everything that she's done, and that, and she gets all emotional. And I just thought it was great. I really did. I just don't. I just think. And then they have an embrace hug, and then he sort of evaporates and goes off, and it's such a great way to send off Harold Ramis. And apparently Harold Ramis actually said to Bill Murray on the set of Ghostbusters, he said, if I ever die, I want you to resurrect me in CGI for Ghostbusters 3. And Bill Murray didn't know what he was on about until after, until he's seen the film. And it's just amazing. I just thought it was really good. I absolutely loved it. I laughed. I cried. I get sort of choked up just thinking about it. That shot of them all stood there as a foursome again, just blasting the wands. It's a great send off. It was done really well. It wasn't cheesy. You know, Harold doesn't say anything, but he doesn't need to say anything. And I just think it's sort of just passing the torch onto this new generation of kids. And it's just sort of also, you know, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a Ghostbuster. I had the little proton pack, the little blue proton pack. I used to dive around the house shooting foam bullets at my dad, you know. So we've all had this fantasy as kids of being Ghostbusters, and it's watching these kids find all the Ghostbusters cool sort of tech and toys, and using them and becoming these sort of like mini Ghostbusters. And I've seen people watching it going, yeah, but it's so, you know, and I hate it when people do this, and I try not to do it, but it's like when you get people to go, oh yeah, but they just know how to use everything without any training. Or what was the one I saw? Well, the little girl can pick up the proton pack and they weigh a ton. Because in the first one, you know, even the guys were struggling to pick it up. It's like it's a film. It's a movie. It's not real. At some point, you have to draw a line in the sand and go, yeah, okay, we have to give some leeway for films to be fiction. I loved it. I really did. I was sort of skeptical, thinking, well, what's it going to be like? Are the real cast going to be in it? And getting Harold Ramis as a bonus at the end was amazing. And it's all about Egon, and it's all about his granddaughter, and the way it's just tied together is so well done. And it's got a lot of Easter eggs, and I just think it's a really good... I mean, some people might watch this and go, well, it's very similar to the first one. And it is, because it's all about Gozer, and it's all about the dogs, and the dogs possessing two people to become the Keymaster and the Gatekeeper again. So that's pretty much very much the same. But it ties into Ghostbusters 1. You even actually see the Ivo Shandor guy, because he's in a coffin and he's sort of waiting to be arisen again. Paul Rudd's really good in it. The kids are really good in it. There's some really good animatronics in it as well. There's some really good CGI. I actually think there's going to be a director's cut of this movie, because there was a lot of what was in the trailer wasn't in this film. And I just think that they've maybe cut things out to make it shorter. But it's a very fast-paced film, and I actually quite liked how fast-paced it was, because it just didn't really mess around. It sort of respected your time. It wasn't like Rise of Skywalker, where it was just fucking insane. Oh, we're here, we're doing this, and then we're over here, and we're going over here, and we're doing this. It wasn't as fast as that. But it was still sort of like, right, pretty quick-paced. All these kids aren't actually in it as Ghostbusters. You've got Podcast. You've got can't even remember her bloody name. Egon's granddaughter, Egon's grandson, and then there's the love interest. So there's two kids here that aren't even really helping with the fight. It's basically four kids to make up the four Ghostbusters. And it's just really done really well. There's some end credit stuff at the end. Sigourney Weaver pops up at the end in an end credit scene. She's doing the mind reading test with the electric, where she's actually doing it to Venkman, and she electrocutes him a few times. Then at the end, at the very end, there's another cutscene where there's actually a deleted scene from 1984 Ghostbusters of Janine. I think Janine's in the film as well, briefly, and she gives this coin to Egon, and it's before they go up and fight Gozer in the tower on the first movie, and he's like, "Oh, you can keep it, because we're probably not going to be coming back," as if like to say, "Oh, we're probably going to die up there." And then you see her sat with this coin, and she's talking to Winston. And Winston's actually the most successful out of the Ghostbusters, because he started his own business and he's like a multi-millionaire. And he basically goes through the whole Ghostbusters, and he says, "Oh, Ray was the heart of the Ghostbusters. Egon was the brains of the Ghostbusters. Peter was the skeptic." And Janine says, "Well, what were you?" And he says, "Oh, I was a sex appeal." And he says, when I walked in there off the street, all I wanted was a steady paycheck. And I've started a business, and I started with one person, and now I've got all this." And he says, now that I've got all this, he says, I've got all this, he says, but I'll always be a Ghostbuster. And as he's talking, he actually see him driving into the firehouse with the Ecto-1, like he's going to do it up again. And then it goes down into the containment unit, and you just see this green light, this red light flashing on the containment unit, and then it cuts off, and it's like, all right, are we going to get another Ghostbusters? There's actually a production company called Ghost Core, and it's a Sony company. Ghost Core, it's called. I think that's going to be the sort of licensing, the studio that handles everything Ghostbusters. So whether we're going to get a Ghostbusters TV show with it all tied in, or who knows. I don't think they should touch it anymore. I think this was just perfect. It was a perfect send off, but Hollywood being Hollywood, they never know when to they never know when to how to leave things alone. So obviously, I think we're going to get another Ghostbusters. The only things that I didn't like, everything else was awesome. I thought the jokes, some of the bad jokes that Egon's granddaughter was telling they were so bad they were quite funny. There was no part where I was like, "Oh, that's cringe," or that was terrible. I was just there for this ride, and I absolutely loved it. The only thing that I didn't like, or the couple of things that I didn't like, there was no Slimer. No Slimer. Slimer's not in this movie, which I think is an absolute fucking sin. I actually thought the Munch Ghost would have worked well if he was replaced by Slimer. So the kids were actually trying to catch Slimer. Because this Munch Ghost, you've never seen him before. He's a ghost that can't go through walls, and he eats metal, or he eats stuff. He bites pipes and everything. And I thought, well, Slimer eats a lot as well, so maybe they could have swapped him out and put Slimer in. So they were trying to catch Slimer and had this comical Slimer, because Slimer's fucking amazing. When Ray's on the phone to Egon's granddaughter when she's in jail, and he's telling her about what's happened to the Ghostbusters and why they've broke up, and why Egon sort of left them, and he says Egon took everything. Egon took the proton packs, he took the Ecto-1, he took all the traps, and he disappeared. And then when the Ghostbusters turn up at the end, they've all got proton packs on, and it's like, well, I thought Egon took them all. And there's a bit where he's using all of them down in this tomb. I don't know. And he also says, Ray says on the phone, he says, "Oh, we lost the firehouse as well," and he says, "And it's now a Starbucks." And then at the end credits scene, you see Winston driving the Ecto-1 into the firehouse, so it's not a Starbucks. So there's a few little things there, but other than that, I mean, I'm not one of these people that will sit there and go, like I saw one person going, well, she struggled to, she shouldn't have been able to pick up the proton pack because it weighs 10 times, twice as much as she does, because they said it in Ghostbusters 1. And then there's a bit where Egon's got this secret shed in the back of his garden, and it's just it's the fireman's pole from the firehouse. It's the pole going, and it goes down into this secret room. And there's people that have gone, well, why would he move there? And Egon wouldn't. Why would he build a pole? Why would he have time to build a pole? And it's like, you can't just nitpick like that. It's there because the Ghostbusters pole's iconic. She needs to pick up the proton pack, and she does struggle with it, to be fair, for a bit. And she's like, then she gets used to the weight, and but you don't know how long Egon's been out there, if he's made more proton packs or what, you don't know. But I loved it. I really did. I really loved this film. I really, really did. I'm definitely going to see it again. I'm probably going to buy it. Because in the Ghostbusters timeline, there's Ghostbusters 1, Ghostbusters 2, and this. And that is it. And I don't think it should be touched again. But I know they will. So, that was it. And all the old cast are in it. They're really good as well. Really, really good. And they're in it for just the right amount of time as well. They didn't outstay their welcome. And the sound as well, that all that music's in it as well. Oh, dun dun dun, dun 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 dun, all that sort of great, brilliant. Dun 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 dun. All that music, it's amazing. Really, really good. Very, very happy about it. Very, 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 very happy. Very happy about this film. Really, really good. So I'm going to leave it there, guys. And that is Ghostbusters, my little sort of semi-review thoughts on Ghostbusters Afterlife. So see you again on the next one.